ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the
with me, Nompumelelo Ngubeni and Tebogo Lekhuleni. It is the start of a brand spanking new week, and we're excited for it. We hope that you too are as well. Thank you very much for staying tuned. How are you feeling?
I'm fantastic. Happy International HR Day.
No, it's only tomorrow.
Okay, for tomorrow.
And that's how we're kickstarting the show, yeah? Speaking about HR, International HR Day, but a very important aspect of HR, and that is leadership.
Yep.
So we're going to be reflecting on an aspect of leadership here on the African continent called Ubuntu. Leading from a place of compassion, from a place of connection, just humanity. Leading from that place.
And knowing that it cannot be done in silos, we have to work as a team.
You need like the soft and the hard skills.
You do, and sometimes I feel the soft skills lack more than any other. The ability to
they don't
read
teach
the
that at
room.
business school.
They don't teach that at business school, and that's a problem, isn't it? And then the hidden costs behind individual homes or gated communities.
Yeah.
I was asking Lulu
earlier
which one she prefers, gated community or standalone, and she's like, oh, obviously gated, because it's for safety concerns. Is that your take as well? If you were to choose between a gated or a standalone home, which do you prefer?
So of late, I've been reconsidering this idea of a gated community. You know, I'm not a fan of gated communities that create a whole ecosystem. Right, an entire ecosystem.
Everything
is in there. You never have
Yes.
to leave. I'm not a fan of those. I have very recently become open to the idea of as just a standalone. It depends on the area, right?
Okay.
There'll usually be patrollers, security for the area, so there is safety, and also only because of the space and the land that you get. So you get more value out of that versus a gated community. So for me, there are things that I'm considering. Of course, safety is foremost, but you must remember that gated communities are just a microcosm of the world. And one case in point is that here in South Africa, just last week, there was a case of an 11-year-old boy, 10-year-old boy, 11-year-old boy who was dropped off at his apartment by the Scholar Transport, never made it home. Oh, no. Was found the next morning at around 6 a.m. dead. Close to his apartment. So what happened? Someone in the gated community took this child, abused them. They were bruised at the time at which he was found. So gated community does not necessarily mean you're safe, because you're living with the very same people that are criminals outside, right? So for different reasons, I am really reconsidering the idea of a gated community when the biggest selling point is safety. I don't know if it's safe. Even the very security guards.
Even the security guards. I mean, listen, there are hidden costs indeed, especially when you're living in these communities, right? The utilities, but you also have to pay for the maintenance of the entire estate. You contribute to that as well. So standalone, perhaps that's where you're trying to go, but we'll give you the pros and the cons of either. And then we talk about side hustles. Maybe you're trying to get into a side hustle, get an additional income stream. What's the best way of doing it outside of your 9 to 5 so that you don't get overwhelmed by it? Yeah. Sometimes you start off with a side hustle that takes up all of your time and you get so fatigued out at your 9 to 5. It's not a side anymore. It's no longer a side. Then you become very discouraged and then it stops. So what are the best... how best can you go about it?
And who is best suited to have a side hustle?
Not
so
everyone.
Just because you are in need of the money does not mean you are necessarily best placed to have a side hustle. Katu, as he nods, this is obviously a topic that has everyone intrigued. I heard our team members who are in charge of our live streams commenting there as you were throwing forward, saying, "Eish, I'm a side hustle." Because everybody is wanting a side hustle. So
absolutely.
We'll delve deeper into those. Do join our conversations. I mean, it really is such a better conversation when you are a part of it. The number to dial is +27 63 406 9126. Check out our live stream on YouTube. It's at Channel Africa. And engage with us on our various social media platforms. On TikTok, it's at Channel Africa 1. On X, it's at Channel Africa 1. Instagram, Channel Africa 1. Tag me at _Nompumelelo Ngubeni.
You've got a social media account.
I mean, look at me.
I'm so proud of you. Is this on Instagram?
It's so anxiety inducing. This is on Instagram,
and
_Nompumelelo Ngubeni. And TikTok, I don't know what it is. Okay. I am on TikTok now. It's Nompumelelo Ngubeni. I think
I'm already liking everything that you're posting.
Wonderful.
Before we carry on with the show, congratulations to Amachita.
Man.
Oh my goodness, congratulations to Amachita, AFCON champions under 20.
On our way to qualifying for the World Cup. Under 17s have done it, Bafana have done it. Brilliant. Listen, what do we say? No DNA, just RSA?
Just RSA, no DNA, just RSA.
12 minutes after 1 Central African time.
Got something to say? Are you passionate about issues that matter? Do you have a voice that deserves to be heard? Well, we've got the perfect platform for you. Call in or drop us a WhatsApp on +27 63 406 9126. And we will call you back so you could have your say and be part of the conversation.
30 years of age. I just turned 30 on the 15th of November. So that's who I am,
It's not just talk. It's your chance to air your views. Share your opinion. Engage with a community that values your perspective. Follow us on our social media. Visit our website at www.channelafrica.co.za and get ready to share your views on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Join the birthday celebrations this month. Happy birthday to you.
Still connecting Africa to the world.
Channel Africa, the African perspective. Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802. Only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity.
By Uga Boys, all the way from Rwanda, featuring Tyra Chanty. And it's titled Golosa. A vibe, eh?
And vibe.
And vibe.
And vibe. I've started adding "and" to things unnecessarily these days, and it just sounds better, doesn't it?
It really
adds
doesn't.
flavor to what you're saying. Anyway, let's get into our conversation this afternoon. We are celebrating International HR Day tomorrow on the 20th of May. Now, as we mark International HR Day, we are zooming in on something often overlooked in South African workplaces: the human in human resources. In industries like mining, engineering, and manufacturing, top performers are often promoted into leadership roles without ever being taught how to lead people. But leadership isn't just about hitting targets, it's about empathy, emotional intelligence, and connection. Enter Ubuntu, the African philosophy that reminds us, I am because we are. Maccaflay Learning Academy is urging businesses to reimagine leadership through this lens. And today we are joined on the line by Noreen McPherson, Associate and Learning and Development Specialist at Maccaflay, to help us explore what people-centered leadership really looks like. Noreen, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the Upside.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi.
Let's talk about the significance of International HR Day. For some people, I myself included, I didn't even know we were celebrating such a day. Why is it so important in reminding us of what needs to happen in the workplace, in not just acknowledging the human beings in there, but also the leaders?
So I think the reality is that many of the human beings that work are leaders in their own right. So when we talk about leaders, we're not just talking about management, we're talking about people and their ability to influence others towards their way of thinking or doing, even if they don't have the title associated very often with leadership.
I love that.
So yes, I think it's important that when we talk about human resources in an organization, it's an all-encompassing term. Without the humans, the business can't continue. So putting emphasis on the need to manage those resources effectively and to lead people in directions that motivate, encourage, and empower them a lot more emphasis should be placed on that. We're not just factors of production, but people with feelings and emotions and drives and objectives that we want to achieve.
That is the voice there of Noreen McPherson, and she's the Associate in Learning and Development Specialist at Maccaflay Learning Academy. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine, weekdays 6 till 9.
We continue with our coverage of recent arrests of activists and journalists in Harare during Monday's mass stay-away and protest. Dr. Tadini Masaya, who's the Secretary for the Information and Media of the United Zimbabwe Alliance, an opposition party founded in March 2022.
Every Zimbabwean is entitled to expressing themselves, whether they're ZANU-PF or they belong to any other political party or they do not. So what Geza and those that believe in his code did is within their rights. However, we also fully acknowledge that it is an internal fight, and as UZA, we did not participate in that internal fight. We are not going to be used as pawns as what happened in 2017 to usher in a different face for ZANU-PF. It does not matter who is the face of ZANU-PF. ZANU-PF is going to remain the same.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine. Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside with Nompumelelo Ngubeni and Tebogo Lekhuleni. Bringing you Africa's brightest ideas and untold stories.
21 minutes after 1 Central African time. We're still in conversation with Noreen McPherson, and she is Associate Learning and Development Specialist at Maccaflay Learning Academy, speaking to us about International HR Day, which is coming up tomorrow, and highlighting really one virtue, quality, Ubuntu, as a means to influence, as you said, Noreen. I liked that word, influence, the people that you are leading to a singular vision, right? One that this leader has. But let's talk about then the influence and how it is communicated. Surely that matters, and hence the introduction of Ubuntu as one way of doing it?
Yes, I think traditionally, managers, employers have always been seen as sort of very autocratic, production, profit-driven. And the fact, as I mentioned earlier, that we are working with human beings. It's very important, if you want people on your side, to push the business, to perform, to do what you want them to do, to recognize the value of those people that are assisting the organization to get there. We often talk about soft skills and see them as something threatening. But if we don't care about people, they're not going to perform. It's a cliche that happy people are productive people, but it's also a reality. And in the South African environment, we need to empower our people in order for them to be productive and for organizations to sustain a competitive advantage.
Noreen, technically skilled employees who then get promoted to leadership roles, they seem to struggle when it comes to the soft skills. And the question then becomes, why aren't there, shall we say, programs within the organization or institutions where they can be trained so that it doesn't become such an overwhelming feeling for them? Because yes, they are numbers driven, they are result oriented, but you really need those soft skills, don't you?
Yes, certainly. There are many organizations out there that once they promote somebody into a more senior position where they're expected to manage people, do send people on training courses. Maccaflay, we offer many programs in terms of leadership and management development, but it's sort of closing the gate after the horse has bolted to some extent. If you've been earmarked for promotion, perhaps it would be good to start considering developing people in a people-orientated role prior to actually taking on the mantle of that position. The problem starts with our sort of post-school qualifications, whether we're doing a trade or whether we're doing a degree. many of the technical fields that people go into in this country don't cover the people leadership side. So it's post-school, already employed people that we really need to be paying attention to with the development of soft skills. And that's where us at Makofle focus a lot of our attention is on closing those gaps. But sometimes, as I said, it's after the fact. The person's already feeling overwhelmed and challenged and very negative about leading people without the skills to do so. If it could be seen as developmental, as part of a promotional experience, perhaps the results would be seen more readily and more quickly.
I wonder, Noreen, Tebogo asked about these programs that teach, I suppose, soft skills to the technically advanced. What measures would there be? Hopefully there are yardsticks to the efficacy of such programs, particularly where the implementation of Ubuntu is concerned.
No, certainly there are. The approach that we take at Makofle is that very often we speak directly to the clients in terms of what are the skills that are lacking. And very often it comes back to the actual people skills. Open communication, encouraging communication, giving feedback, building relationships. We can even consider things like complaints and grievances that get put in about managers' attitudes and so on. People go through a program, they learn they learn what these skills are, and they're given the opportunity, of course, in the workplace to go back and implement and practice these skills. And we get very positive feedback in the long term in terms of the difference that it does make with regards to relationships and improving the principle and qualities associated with Ubuntu.
Noreen, it's amazing that you're able to then train these leaders to equip them to be able to handle these positions. How then do we go about changing the mindset of the entire organization so that they can support this new leader? Because without that support, it feels as though you are doing everything in your power, but no one is responding in a favorable way. So how do we go about changing the environment so that it is supportive?
I think, I always believe that training should start at the top. So before you send people for training, you should actually be looking to yourself and saying, what is it that I want these employees to do and to master and to actually do it myself? We have a lot of senior management who are quick to send people on training programs because they lack certain skills and abilities, and yet they themselves lack them too. And it's almost sometimes as if they feel that it's beneath them. And because I'm in a senior position, I have the skills, I have the knowledge. I don't want to open myself up to criticism, therefore it's not that important to me, but it's certainly important for the others. I think even if senior management did abbreviated versions, but at least became more aware of what employees are being taught on these programs, they could put systems in place, coaching and mentoring programs to actually encourage and support these new entry-level managers on their journey of growth and development. I think that kind of thing is very important.
Earlier on you mentioned a report back system, so where employees can give feedback to managers. And I thought to myself, I wonder how many organizations I know that have that system outside of corridor murmurings and gossip, right? To voice out one's frustration. What are some of the channels that employees can go about to ensure that organizations address these kind of feedback systems and set up the systems themselves?
I think, what we always have to consider when people are encouraged to speak up and speak out is, that they could be intimidated or victimized directly or indirectly. Nobody likes to hear that we're not perfect or that, things aren't going the way that we envisage them to. And what's becoming more and more popular is anonymous feedback systems. Job satisfaction type surveys, employee morale surveys, not overly complicated, not overly detailed, a sort of a tick box questionnaire where you're giving employees options around their perceptions and feelings towards something, but that it's completely anonymous. If 1 out of 10 people complain about something, it's, yeah, okay. But when 6 or 7 people are saying, this is actually how we feel about this is not working, it tends to attach a lot more importance to, okay, but if 7 out of 10 people feel this way, perhaps it's something we should be doing something about. It is difficult to get employees to open up honestly face to face. We are human after all. But certainly more and more anonymous surveys in the workplace can help management to gather really meaningful information about the current state of people's mindsets and perceptions in the workplace.
Noreen, thank you so much for your time and for shining a light on this important day that we'll be celebrating tomorrow, International HR Day. And we're hoping that organizations will reach out to academies like yourselves so that they can better equip their leaders. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Thank you very much for having me. Thank you very much.
The voice there of Noreen McPherson, Associate and Learning and Development Specialist at Makofle, to help us better understand people-centered leadership and how that really looks like. It's 31 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African Time. Let's get your latest in sports.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good afternoon, guys. We kick off with football news. The final club to qualify for the highly anticipated FIFA Club World Cup 2025 will be determined on the 31st of May. The match will be between U.S. side Los Angeles Football Club and Mexican powerhouse club America in a high-stakes play-in match at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles, California. Following the recent Court of Arbitration for Sport decision, FIFA decided that the final club to be admitted to the tournament will be determined by a play-in match between the two teams. The winners of the play-in will claim the final spot at this year's Global Club Showpiece and will take their place in Group D alongside Brazil's CR Flamengo, Tunisia's outfit Esperance Sportive de Tunis, and English side Chelsea FC. Some more football news. Banyana coach Desiree Ellis says she wants to leave no stone unturned as they approach the final preparation phase of the Women's Africa Cup of Nations title defense. This was her sentiments after announcing a 24-player squad to host Botswana and Zambia in a 3-nation series with Banyana fixtures scheduled for the 28th and the 31st of May. Ellis says the main aim is to get the blend of youth and experience right, while also testing the players' physicality among COSAFA's best.
We want to leave no stone unturned, and we want to make sure that we give players an opportunity, but we also want to make sure that we get the mix right. So getting the mix right now is not where we're at. It's still another test. I think 3 COSAFA teams going to AFCON. Botswana doing really well in the last one, getting to the quarters, Zambia getting to the semis and getting a bronze. So they've added a lot of value. They've evolved over the years. Zambia into the successive Olympic Games. So,
in athletics, the National Sports Commission of Nigeria has officially announced the formation of the local organizing committee for the highly anticipated 3rd African Under-18 Under-20 Athletics Championship. The championship is set to take place in Abeokuta, Ogun State, from the 16th to the 20th of July 2025. The 15-member committee comprises a diverse group of experienced professionals in sports administration and related fields. Our sports correspondent in Nigeria, Tony Ubani, reports.
According to the Director General of the National Sports Commission, Bukola Olakbade will chair the LOC, while Wasiu Isiaka will serve as the Vice Chairman. The African Under-18 Under-20 Athletic Championship is expected to draw over 500 athletes from 53 African countries. With Abeokuda's upgraded sports infrastructure, Nigeria aims to host a memorable edition of the competition showcasing the best of African youth athletics.
And Nigeria's Favor Ofili became the first woman to dip under 16 seconds for 150 meter with her performance at the Adidas Atlanta City Games Street Meeting, a World Athletics Continental Tour Silver event at the weekend. Racing on a straight temporary track, the 22-year-old Olympic 200-meter finalist clocked 15.85 seconds and won clear ahead of USA's Tamari Davis, who with 16.14 was also inside the 16.23 world's best achieved by Shunei Miller Oibo in Boston in 2018. Kenya's Ferdinand Omanyala won the men's race in 14.70. The 200-meter races were also contested on the straight track, and Great Britain's Zanelle Hughes won the wind-assisted men's clash ahead of Trinidad and Tobago's Jarim Richards. USA's Lena Abby Jackson won the women's race in 22.22 seconds. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fila Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese, and Kiswahili? Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa? In that case, we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa. Send us your CV and demo at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
It is now 36 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. Let's get your latest in business news and find out how the markets are moving.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good afternoon. I'm Nosipho Zuma. In your business news for SAWA, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa says Finance Minister Noko Dongwane is finalizing the third edition of the 2025 budget. Parliament will host the third tabling of the budget on Wednesday. This as Dongwane gets back to the drawing board to craft a third budget. The first two attempts failed due to disagreements among members of the Government of National Unity, particularly the African National Congress and the Democratic Alliance over the proposed value-added tax increase. Speaking before leaving for the US, Ramaphosa said Dongwane was getting ready to present the budget on Wednesday.
The budget is almost ready. The Minister of Finance is putting the final touches to the budget, and that is going to be presented on the 21st. So that is not a problem at all.
South Africa's Deputy President Paul Mashatile has arrived in Paris. He has undertaken a working visit to France to cement bilateral relations with the European nation. The trip is also aimed at expanding cooperation projects as well as identifying new areas of cooperation with specific focus on trade and investment. Recently, International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola co-chaired the 9th session of the Forum for Political Dialogue between France and South Africa.
Deputy President Mashatile is set to take part in the South Africa-France Investment Conference, where Pretoria will intensify cooperation in the fields of infrastructure development, science, technology and innovation, education and skills development. They also want to improve the already strong people-to-people links between the two countries and increase the flow of tourism to South Africa from France. France is the 14th largest investor in South Africa, with about 400 French companies investing in sectors such as financial services, renewable energy, rail, chemicals, oil and gas.
South Africa's biggest mobile operator, Vodacom, reported a marginal rise in annual earnings on a stronger second-half performance, but gains were capped by significant currency volatility. Vodacom, majority owned by UK-based Vodafone, said headline earnings per share rose by 1.3% to 857 South African cents in the year ended March 31st, from 846 South African cents a year earlier. CEO of Vodacom, Shamil Yasub, said given significant currency volatility, he was impressed with the strong finish the group produced in the last 6 months, supporting the confidence communicated in November last year that the organization is poised for a stronger second half performance. The South African Post Office, SAPO, has signed an agreement with the Unemployed Insurance Fund, UIF, for $21 million. The funds aim to safeguard almost 6,000 jobs and aid the post office's revival through a strategic partnership. The Minister of Employment and Labour, Nomakosazana Meth, yesterday said the UIF, through the Temporary Employer-Employee Relief Scheme, TEARS, will inject the funds into SAPO over a 6-month period. TEARS, the coordinator at the UIF, Rachel Daukubo.
This is only for salaries, and we are saying that as we save the post office their payroll funds, the 381 million that they would have ordinarily paid to the employees will be used elsewhere in terms of their turnaround strategy that they have implemented. So the post office will on a monthly basis be measured on the implementation of that turnaround strategy as well, including the verification that the money is paid to the employees.
And finally, Namibian President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah says her working visit to Botswana and Zambia last week aimed to strengthen bilateral relations with the neighboring countries. She discussed a number of bilateral and regional matters with her counterparts and highlighted some benefits that the recently discovered oil and gas in her country would provide the entire region and Africa. President Ndaitwah also explored possible infrastructure projects and economic linkages through Namibian ports, including Walvis Bay.
We found it appropriate to ensure that all our neighbors who are not coastal towns, they are linked to the sea, hence making available the dry ports. And those dry ports are not for governments alone, but for the private sector.
Your financial indicators: $1 US in Nigeria is trading at 1,599 naira 70. In Botswana, it's 13 pula 40. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 58, and in Zambia, it's 28 kwacha 69. The BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 66. Russia is 80 rubles 84. India is 85 rupees 56. China at 7 yuan 20, and South Africa $1 is trading at 18 rand 02. $1 is trading at 75 pence to the British pound and 89 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $3,246 and platinum at $993 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $64.91 a barrel. Now, for any business news stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I'm Nosipo Zuma.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa, meet Abedi.
Yeah, that's me.
Abedi is a music lover through and through.
I really love African music.
He's got a taste for all kinds of tunes and spends his days listening to Channel Africa. Guess what? He didn't know.
Okay.
Channel Africa wants to help Abedi and all music lovers everywhere to discover even more incredible music. That is why Channel Africa is calling on all African musicians to submit their music. Musicians, remember to give us all your relevant information. Make your submissions at music@channelafrica.co.za. Submissions are your chance to be heard on radio. But sadly, they do not guarantee that you'll be playlisted. All submissions will be carefully reviewed to see if they meet our station's requirement. Channel Africa, the African perspective. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there. Through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is
Solar by Justin Vibes. They're featuring Diamonds of Gwijo as well as Azul Serene. That one bringing us to 9 minutes before 2 Central African time. It is a Monday afternoon. You are listening to The Upside with me, Nompumelelo Ngubeni and Tebogo Lekhuleni. Taking you home this afternoon. Let us know what the vibe is in your neck of the woods. It is very sunny here. I'm surprised you actually didn't mention how happy you are because of the weather. A cold front is upon us this week.
Oh no, don't say that. You got very excited. I should have been very suspicious of that.
On
my
Tuesday,
goodness,
we
when?
should be having some... Wednesday. Tomorrow's Tuesday. So Wednesday, we will have... there's going to be snowfall in KZN. Hopefully nothing like we saw a couple of years ago. Remember when people were stranded? But all throughout the continent should be quite nice and warm. Let us know what the weather is like where you are listening from. It's +2 763 406 9126.
A low of 5 degrees and a high of 15.
Beautiful.
That is beautiful.
Just stunning.
I tell you what, it's actually not bad. Because I remember going to Clarence, right? And that's in the Free State. And when those areas get cold, they get very, very, very cold. The temperature was a high of about probably 16, 17 and a low of maybe 4, 3. It was actually pleasant during the day. I thought, because coming from Johannesburg, like, you are used to the 10s and the 30s. Then you go there and it's a 16. You think it's going to be a blizzard. It wasn't actually that bad. So this 15 that we're going to experience on Wednesday, it's not going to be bad. It's going to be a slight chill, is what it's going to be. I tell you what, I saw something very interesting. A woman left a restaurant without paying the bill, but she forgot her handbag, her purse.
Yeah.
She came back to get the purse, and the manager refused to give it to her and said, "Listen, but you haven't paid your bill."
Hold on. Woman goes to a restaurant, forgets her handbag at the restaurant.
At the restaurant.
Oh, that's bizarre. Okay.
Yeah. So it's sort of like maybe she was running away or something. I don't know.
No, but you...
So she went to a restaurant.
She purposefully did
not pay the bill. She just walked out. Right? And then she comes back and says, "Listen, I want my purse back." The manager's like, "No, I can't give, you must pay first. Pay your bill." Then she gets all angry and starts throwing a tantrum. And in the comment section, people are like, "My goodness, lady, at least show some embarrassment or some shame. How are you angry that the manager is refusing to give you your purse because you did not pay?"
But also, what does my purse have to do with my bill?
What do you mean?
No, because
that's how you pay for things.
It's my position. I'm with the woman on this. Give me what belongs to me.
So what must happen? What must the manager do then?
Okay, how is keeping my bag and my purse going to assist in this whole saga? How?
We don't know. Maybe we'll find coins in there, and then maybe those coins will take care of your bill, which you did not pay.
I just didn't pay a bill. Either open a case, you follow procedure, but hanging on to my belongings is not helping either of us. And it's also against procedure, right? Open a case, get me to wash the dishes. What do people do in these cases? They open cases, right? They don't get people to wash dishes. That's in the movies.
They don't. That's in the movie. Actually, it's not in the movie. Some people actually do practice that. There are certain restaurants, the smaller scale restaurants where not a lot of people go there. They don't frequent it.
But then how do you quantify how many dishes or how much time washing the dishes is sufficient to pay back a meal?
I think you equated to the labor that you pay, the wages that you pay your staff. You're like, okay, cool. We pay our staff 100 Rand an hour, right? And your meal was worth 250 Rand. So we'll let you work for about 2-3 hours today, wash the dishes, clean up. The smaller scale restaurants, they actually do that. Some of those little family run businesses, those community restaurants, they actually do that. So it's not just...
I thought that's just in the movies.
What we see in the movies really is based on something.
Imitates
Let's
life,
be
right?
honest, right? And so some of them do that. But I was like, yeah, girl, show some shame. Like, be embarrassed or something. Like, don't just be angry. You did not pay the bill. How is the manager supposed to handle? Just give you the bag and then charge you. That's it.
Yes, 100%. Like, those two are completely separate issues. Completely separate issues.
What if the bill
Can
was
we deal
massive?
with me forgetting my bag as a separate issue from me not having
That's your personal belonging. I get that.
Yeah.
I get that. But what if the bill was like massive? What if she ordered all the caviar, all the lobster, and the most expensive champagne? What do you then do?
And how much is this bag worth? But also, again, no, it's the principle. It remains.
It's what's inside the bag.
It remains. No, I don't think. Because there's probably nothing inside the bag. That's why she ran off.
Like IDs and, well, actually,
what are they going to do with an
ID?
How are they going to get their money back?
No, actually, I don't know.
It
was interesting.
I'm with the lady. You know what, lady? Good on you. Good on you for standing up.
Good for you for standing up for yourself.
Absolutely.
No, good for the manager. Get your money back somehow. Inconvenience her also.
She had every right to stand on principle and say, give me my bag and let's deal with the unpaid check separately. You let us know what you think about the situation. Is the lady right to have said, give me my bag and we'll make a plan to pay for and open a case? I mean, those things are not, they are mutually exclusive.
All right, and that's fine. I think the manager, good for you.
Have you ever skipped a bill?
Oh no, never. I'm never. I'm one of those people that I don't want no criminal record in my name. I just there's no need for it. Also, I have a great appreciation for the people who work behind the scenes in the restaurant, and I know a lot of people are underpaid at times, and so I don't want to overwhelm the system by now adding unnecessary drama to the restaurant. And there are many opportunities. Let's be honest. There are plenty of opportunities for you to just get up and leave. At certain restaurants, when it gets peak busy. I remember when we were watching the rugby, it was one of those fan parks at Monte Casino. The restaurant there was so busy that the waiters, you couldn't even tell who your waiter is because they were attending to almost everyone. Right. At any given moment, if we had decided, we're just going to get up and leave, they would not have said anything. They didn't have our numbers, nothing. We would have just left. So, but no, I pay my bills.
I think waitering, waitressing, what a brilliant way to learn people skills.
I've never.
Oh, I've done it.
Yeah?
Yeah, and sometimes I'm like, could be cool to just get an apron and get behind a table.
And not deal with people like that.
No. As in, put on an apron and go serve people and go. Oh, wow. Yeah, I encourage it. I think, in your teens, in your 20s, if you have the time in varsity, you want to make an extra buck. Yeah. What a great way to meet people as well and learn a bit about yourself. It was probably because it was in a little dorpy, but I loved my waitressing days.
My impatience, people. I'm sorry. They're gonna send me back. They're gonna send me back. No, this steak I said medium rare. if this is well done, then they're going to send me back. I'm just going to go. I'm not going to go to the kitchen. I'm just going to touch it, make it cold, and then come back and give it to you and say, no, don't worry.
No, you're not the right candidate.
I'm not the right candidate. I did call center duties.
Oh, that would frustrate me greatly.
No, I didn't mind that. Oh, yeah, but it was frustrating. No, especially when people call in with all the problems in the world and you have to deal with it. Like, why didn't the plumber come out at the time that you said he was going to... Like, ma'am, we're so sorry. Now you're representing the whole company.
You just schmoozed them with your voice, didn't you? That's all you were counting on.
Well,
that's it.
That's what I did. It is now 2 p.m. Central African Time. Jolani Tulo Ngwepe has your latest in... No, not sports. News.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Tebogo. Top stories this hour. South Africa's president expected to arrive in the US later today, and Israel's prime minister wants to take control of the entire Gaza Strip. Good afternoon. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to arrive in the United States later today. Ramaphosa is on a state visit to meet his counterpart Donald Trump. Top on the agenda is the strained relations between the two countries after the US president signed an executive order offering South African white Afrikaners refugee status on allegations that they are under attack. Sharon Bryce-Pease reports.
If their meeting is televised, then it's a no-brainer. It'd be hard not to watch. After all, this is a strained relationship with differences that have tested the partnership in recent months. And how the two heads of state managed that in front of a room full of senior aides and journalists lobbing questions on all topics could make for an interesting fly-on-the-wall scenario. It's live reality TV, and the stage is the Oval Office. When to pivot, maybe a frown, a smile, even a nod. Ask Zelensky, Kani, Maloney would have some thoughts. It's a show with expectations of a performance. President Ramaphosa has his constituency, President Trump his. They'll both be expecting a win.
Meanwhile, South Africans have mixed reactions to Ramaphosa's visit to the US. Here are the views of some citizens.
Can we be allowed to have South African solutions for South African problems?
President Ramaphosa and President Trump should focus on just trying to have benefits on both countries.
I don't think this meeting is going to yield any positive result.
So Ramaphosa should do as Trump is, firstly make peace. The South African government has attacked Israel in the ICJ. I think it's a huge mistake.
Personally, I do believe that Trump is just playing politics.
It's very important that all relations are intact for the good of our economy.
As a president of a country of over 60 million people, you need to know that you've got so many people backing up, so you shouldn't be bullied by a president from another country.
Hundreds of economic freedom fighters' supporters continue to trickle in at the union buildings in Pretoria, South Africa. This as the party holds what it calls a celebratory march against the scrapping of an increase in VAT tax that government had planned to introduce, but later retracted after court action and public dissent. Dimakazo Lushoro has filed this report.
Hours ahead of what's now known as Budget 3.0, the EFF, in a show of force, is protesting against government's fiscal policy over the few financial years that saw cuts in expenditure and vacancies remaining unfilled. The party is opposed to tax increases that it considers regressive like VAT, but says some form of wealth tax should be implemented along with increases in company taxes. South Africa's fourth largest political party is celebrating the scrapping of a proposed VAT increase in March. It says the budget to be delivered on Wednesday should be geared towards growing the economy and job creation. For Channel Africa News, I'm Dimakato Leshuru in Pretoria.
At least 10 people have been killed after a suicide bomber targeted a queue of young recruits registering at the Damanyo military base in the Somali capital Mogadishu. Witnesses say teenagers were lining up at the base's gate yesterday when the attacker detonated their explosive. Medical staff at the military hospital told Reuters they had received 30 injured people from the blast and that 6 of them had died immediately. Militant group Al-Shabaab has claimed responsibility for the attack. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says his country will take control of the entire Gaza Strip to prevent Hamas from looting aid. His comment comes after Israel said it would allow a limited amount of food into the territory, ending a 78-day blockade that has brought Gaza to the verge of famine. The BBC's Yolandi Nell has more.
Israel is really pushing for this alternative aid delivery program to Gaza, which will be set up by the end of the month with this newly created Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Now, this all fits into Israel's idea of not just occupying the entire Gaza Strip indefinitely, but also forcing the population into the south. And that's where 4 distribution points for aid have been set up. Now, the UN and its partners have said that this idea is unethical, and they've said that it's unworkable as well.
Recapping the top story this hour, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to arrive in the United States later today. Ramaphosa is on a state visit to meet his counterpart Donald Trump. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulongwebe.
SABC News. The African Perspective. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future.
Time. Welcome to the second hour of The Upside. Nompumelelo seems to be very, very upset with me. He's like, I'm sorry. What did I do? I'm excited about the show.
I'm really not upset with you. If I could give a glimpse to everyone. You literally took my ear off until the second the mic opens. I can't get a second to just gather my thoughts just before we do the link, because Tebogo will be talking and talking and talking and talking. He doesn't only speak on air, he speaks off air as well. And listen, when I say it's never ending, it is never ending. So when we open a mic and you hear the latter end of a remaining conversation, just know that Tebogo would not stop talking until the mic is literally on. It's 8 minutes after 2 Central African time, second hour of the show.
So much to talk about. We gotta There's so much to talk about. Listen, let us know where you're listening to us from this afternoon. +27 63 406 9126 is the WhatsApp line. Send us a voice note. Hi, my name is. I'm tuned in and streaming in from Malawi. Would love to hear from you. And of course, you can stream us live on our social media platforms. See our lovely faces, our studio, as we're broadcasting live from Johannesburg, South Africa. At Channel Africa 1 on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and at Channel Africa on Facebook. Use the hashtag The Upside. We are talking all things property now, aren't we? Because gated versus standalone?
And that's right. And we're talking about the cost implications. And, for me, cost is not just about the monetary value, what you pay on a monthly basis. I think that all things need to be considered, because when we do make decisions about where we live, we consider all things. Absolutely. Right? Yeah. And there are different types of gated communities as well. We'll explore the cost implications of the various types of gated communities. They are like boom gates and actual boundary walls with security fencing and cameras and all the bells and whistles. And we'll be speaking all of those this hour. So do let us know if you have any questions for our guest from Remax. If you are in the property space, if you are in looking for a property and you are confused as to what you should be getting and at what cost. The number to dial +2763 406 9126. I'm really intrigued about AI and what it's doing for users of social media, but perhaps we can park that.
We can chat. We can chat about that one during what caught your eye.
Let's talk about it.
Sneak it in there.
Okay.
Because AI really is doing a number.
It is changing the game. Literally. I might just, I was having a conversation with our colleague Peter Ndoro, and he was just, we're talking about the changing world of social media, AI, and his insights on this world, and how, as a man who grew up in the time when emails were being introduced and how things have advanced. So interesting just to see the evolution of the tech space in just one lifetime. And we could use Peter Ndoro's lifetime.
That's crazy.
Extremely interesting. And don't be left behind. Don't be the one who is left behind. I think that is a key message right now.
I mean, as long as you can breathe, you can learn. You can give yourself some time to learn. And I know, especially the elders, they are very reluctant to try out new things, right? But in this day and age that we're living in, I mean, we are seeing our elders, our grandparents having
WhatsApp,
having phones, touch phones. There was a time when they would have never even considered it. But
now adapt. They're taking selfies.
Now they're taking selfies. Sure. Adapt with the times.
Adapt or die.
Adapt or die. All right. Anyway, we'll talk about gated communities versus standalone property. Which one are you trying to get into? And if you are in one of those spaces, what are your concerns? What are your challenges? We'd love to hear from you. +2763 406 9126. It's 12 minutes after 2 p.m.
Este é o Caleidoscópio.
Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like...
Nacional USAID, dos maiores doadores mundiais de assistência humanitária, decidiu não priorizar os países com maior incidência de malária. Para discutirmos as causas do alastramento da cólera em Angola e os impactos dessa decisão da USAID, convidamos o Dr. Jeremias Agostinho, médico e mestre em saúde pública, para partilhar a sua visão sobre o tema.
A doença, nesse momento, representa o maior risco de saúde pública que nós temos. Nos últimos anos, a nossa preocupação esteve sempre centrada com os casos de malária, os casos de tuberculose e também de infecção por VIH-Sida. A forma como em pouco menos de 2 meses os casos de cólera vêm aumentando acaba por representar nessa altura um dos maiores desafios que o país tem. É expectável que nesta fase o número de casos venha a aumentar.
De segunda a sexta-feira, das 20 às 21 horas locais, este é o Caleidoscópio do Canal África.
Mix Vibration sur Channel Africa.
Nous allons accueillir sur ces plateaux de Mix Vibration un artiste pas comme les autres. Il est exceptionnel. Il se classe résolument dans la trajectoire des artistes qui défendent le patrimoine du folklore africain, mais aussi de la rumba. Ici, Jérémy Tchani.
En tout cas, je vous dis merci à la Channel Africa, à tout le monde qui nous suit. Dans la vie, si tu veux aller loin, il faut comprendre les temps. Il y a ceux-là qui étaient dans leur temps, mais à cause d'une mauvaise conduite, à cause des gens qui l'accompagnaient à cause de sa famille, à cause beaucoup de choses, son temps passé.
Voilà, donc il faut toujours gérer le temps. Chaque chose a son temps, dit-on. Et la couronne ne dure pas éternellement, dit-on. Donc il faut toujours gérer le temps que Dieu vous a donné sur la terre. C'est le message que Jérémy Tchani nous amène aujourd'hui sur Mix Vibration à Channel Africa.
Mix Vibration, tous les dimanches de 18h à 19h, temps universel.
Broadcasting in 5 different languages, connecting the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective. No other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa.
Nompumelelo Ngubeni Tebogo Lekhuleni, bringing you Africa's brightest ideas and untold stories.
All right, Control by Malik Malik Berry, and that one bringing us to 17 minutes after 2 Central African time. This as we get into all conversations having to do with property, and we're looking really at the hidden costs of living behind walls, so i.e. a gated community versus just a freestanding home, right? Because when it comes to choosing a home, buyers are often faced with an array of options, but primarily of late there are two options: a freestanding building or a home in a gated community, and each offers its own lifestyle, costs, as well as levels of convenience. A standalone building, for instance, typically offers privacy and independence, but it may also come with shared features such as security services or recreational facilities, these amenities that we look forward to. But for many, the simple setup means fewer expenses and more freedom to customize your space, and I'd argue more land as well. Just to give us a couple more insights into the differences and costs between these two types of living spaces is Melissa Hammenberg, and Melissa is Remax Southern Africa's real estate agent, and she is joining us now on the line. Melissa, good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us.
Good afternoon. Thank you guys for having me.
So, Melissa, let's talk about the various types of gated communities. We know that it's not just those that have boundary walls. You do have boom gates. You have those that are considered estates and then complexes. Maybe just differentiate the various types of gated communities for us.
So when it comes to gated communities, we have your normal gated community whereby you have the boom gate, and then you have securities going around, and then sometimes it is also is it fine because there's a bit of noise in
we can hear you perfectly, Melissa.
Is this better?
It's perfectly fine.
Oh, okay, yeah. So we also have the ones that have your electric fencing, and then there's the estate, and then we have your complexes. So it just depends.
But what are the actual differences? What are the fundamental differences between an estate and a complex?
So an estate, you would be looking at where you'll be paying more levies. An estate, they sell a lifestyle. So basically what they do is they will have a school, they will have restaurants, they will have a golf course. An estate is built for you to be staying in that area or in that community.
Never have to leave.
Never have to leave, exactly. And then when you're looking at a complex is just literally that space, that space that is gated. So sometimes you may have a park or a pool, but that's the most you can get. But for instance, with Baldwin Properties these days, with their complexes, they do try to also give you a bit of never have to live, where you'll get like a mini restaurant, a mini spa here and there, just depending on the developers basically. And then looking at a gated community where it's like the boom gate. And there it is basically people that are living in standalone houses that took a decision to try and secure themselves, to make sure that they are secured in that area, So they would have security. Before you get into that, you have to go through the security. They'll open up the gate for you, and then from there, it's like a normal standalone area.
We are currently in conversation with Melissa Hammenberg, Remax Southern Africa real estate agent, to tell us more about the hidden costs behind individual homes, standalone homes versus gated communities. We continue this conversation after this.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege.
So the artist that I just played now went by the name A.B. Crystal. So A standing for Alfred, B for Benjamin. What's your take on people having two names? Is it because maybe you can't decide on a name?
I've heard people saying that they are named because of whatever that was happening around.
These are also seasonal. I'm sure now a baby born in the Eastern Cape is called Nomatarif.
You see now? Or it was a born baby when it was, what do you call these things we used to pay for men driving?
Noma Itol.
Listen.
Well, Noma Confident is living.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege.
They talk about what Africans say about Africa.
23 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African time. We are still in conversation with Melissa Hammenberg, Remax Southern Africa real estate agent, to tell us more about the hidden costs behind individual homes or gated communities. Melissa, which type of, shall we say, home trends are people leaning more towards now? Are they leaning more towards the gated communities, or are they leaning towards standalone homes? Based on the current experiences, based on the market right now, where are people leaning more towards?
Honestly speaking, people are looking for safety, they're looking for security, they are looking for areas that they know that the home will increase in value. So it's definitely gated communities. If it's first-time buyers, the trend that we're seeing with first-time buyers is they're always starting off with like your complexes as well, but it's most now people are looking at security. They want to make sure that they are safe and secure. So we'll be looking at your gated communities.
And let's talk then about the differences in cost. And I mean cost of living at a standalone building versus a gated community. What are the cost implications?
So that is a very good question, because we tend to find out that not a lot of real estate agents do explain this, and not a lot of people actually know about this. So usually what happens is when you are buying in a complex, for instance, you need to know that you're going to pay for levies, and levies and rates and taxes are two different things. Sometimes you need to understand that you pay for levies, rates and taxes, the sewer, you'd be paying also for the security. And if maybe, let's say for instance, in that complex they need to upgrade anything or they need to change anything, there's an extra levies that also comes with that. So you need to be aware of that. And then when you're looking at a standalone home, there everything is dependent on you. So those costs, usually what you have to look at is, you know that you have to cut your own grass, you have to paint your own house, you have to, if you want to develop anything or build extra, you are free to do that. And then you also need to make sure that you have your own security in terms of the electric fence, if you want to put an alarm or anything of that sort. If you're looking in an estate is quite similar to a complex, but like it's the bigger version of it. So you also need to know that you'll be paying for levies, you'll be paying for rates and taxes, you'd be paying for special levies if there is, you'll be paying for security if there is. Usually in estates, what we are seeing is in total, just for the levies, it would be from 5,000 rand, and that is without the rates and taxes.
Really, Melissa, does that depend on the kind of amenities that are in there? What would 5,000 rand include?
Yes, it depends on the amenities that are there, and also the area, and also the type of houses that are in that estate. So sometimes you may find that you're living in an estate, but there's the whole idea of an estate is just these big luxurious houses that are there, but you do get your normal houses that your middle class is able to afford. So it depends on all of that. But like if we are looking at your big homes, luxury, like your maybe Aspen Hills or so forth, and you know that you'd be paying for the name, you'd be paying for the big houses, the aesthetics, the amenities, and yeah.
Wow. Melissa, comparing the two, which is the better investment from a resale value point of view? If someone wants to get into the property market now, is it better to buy an estate property, a complex property, or is it better to buy a free standalone house in terms of reselling it in the future? Which one would have the higher value?
Honestly speaking, well, if you're just asking it, we would say that in an estate, because it's well maintained, but it also depends on how well maintained the area is, But it depends on who you're asking and how you're asking the question. So for instance, if you're living in an estate, we tend to see that properties in that area, they gain value much quicker compared to a standalone home. But it also depends on the area. For instance, if in South Africa, in Johannesburg, we have a lot of estates because of the security purposes, and but if you go to areas like Cape Town, they don't really have much of estates because the safety and the security there is it's quite well established. So those are things that you would have to look at. So if you want to do an investment, let's say, it depends on how quick. It depends on the area. It depends on how quick you want to get something out of it, and what you can afford, Because if you're buying in, let's say, for instance, if you're buying in a complex and you want to use that area to rent out, you need to understand that you're not going to get your money very soon. But as time goes on, you will get your money. You'll eventually get your money, but you're not going to get it as quick as it would be when you are living in a different area. So it honestly depends on the area, because we can't compare Johannesburg to Cape Town. Cape Town's the property market is shooting up. And then if we're looking at Joburg.
Very quickly, we are running out of time. You keep saying area. How does one evaluate what a good area is?
So a good area would be what it has around. If it has schools, business offices, malls, basically anything that makes your life easier. Also the safety and the security of it as well, and how far it is away from the squatter camps and so forth. So that's how you would know that it's a good area. If your kids need to go to school, that's what you need to look at. Okay, this area, how many schools does it have? How many good schools does it have? If you need to go to the mall, or if you don't want to go to the mall, if you need to go to a shopping center, how many of those are we then looking at, Yeah.
Melissa, it's been an absolute pleasure for having you here, sharing your insights. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you guys for having me. Hopefully you guys have me back again.
That is Melissa Hammenberg, and she is Remax Southern Africa's real estate agent. Those are quite helpful insights there. Area, what do they say? Location, where property is involved, whether it's a gated community, standalone location ultimately matters. All right, it is 30 minutes after 2 Central African time. Tabiselo Hoko? No, in fact, it is Fikile Lengwati on standby with the sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
We will kick off with football news. The final club to qualify for the highly anticipated FIFA Club World Cup 2025 will be determined on the 31st of May. The match will be between US side Los Angeles Football Club and Mexican powerhouse Club America in a high-stakes play-in match at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles, California. Following the recent Court of Arbitration for Sport decision, FIFA decided that the final club to be admitted to the tournament will be determined by a play-in match between the two teams. The winners of the play-in will claim the final spot at this year's Global Club Showpiece and will take their place in Group D alongside Brazil's CR Flamengo, Tunisian outfit Esperance Sportive de Tunis, and English side Chelsea FC. Now on to athletics. The National Sports Commission of Nigeria has officially announced the formation of the local organizing committee for the highly anticipated 3rd African Under-18 Under-20 Athletics Championship. The championship is set to take place in Abeokuta, Ogun State from the 16th to the 20th of July 2025. The 15-member committee comprises a diverse group of experienced professionals in sports administration and related fields. Our Nigerian correspondent Tony Ubani reports.
According to the Director General of the National Sports Commission, Bukola Olakbade will chair the LOC, while Wasiu Isiaka will serve as the Vice Chairman. The African Under-18 Under-20 Athletics Championship is expected to draw over 500 athletes from 53 African countries. With Abeokuda's upgraded sports infrastructure, Nigeria aims to host a memorable edition of the competition showcasing the best of African youth athletics.
Still with athletics, Nigeria's Favour Ofili became the first woman to dip under 16 seconds for 150 meter with a performance at Adidas Atlanta City Games street meeting, a World Athletics Continental Tour silver event at the weekend. Racing on a straight temporary track, 22-year-old Olympic 200-meter finalist clocked 15.85 seconds and one clear ahead of USA's Tamari Davis, who with 16.14 was also inside the 16.23 world's best achieved by Shunei Mila Uibo in Boston in 2018. Now rugby news. University of Cape Town, UCT student Ntokozo Makaza has been selected for the Springboks' latest alignment camp. Makaza says to be part of the camp is an amazing opportunity and learning experience. He says the main goal is to learn and absorb as much as he can ahead of his move to the Cheetahs. Makaza says it is an honor and a privilege to be selected and is truly humbled by the opportunity.
It's an honor to say that I would be part of the Springbok alignment camp. A few years back, even beginning of this year, I'd look at them and laugh. To even be considered, it's an honor and a privilege. I'm truly humbled. I think it's being created by the coaches and the players. That opportunity, that platform they gave me, and us performing well, obviously, it made people see the individual in the team. And fortunately for me, I was one of those individuals. So I'm really humbled and excited for the opportunity.
On to motor racing. We end. McLaren's teammates and Formula One Championship rivals Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri were free to race each other in Sunday's Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, and both agreed it was the right decision. While Australian Piastri started on pole and finished third, Norris took second place after lining up fourth. When Norris overtook for second place in the closing stages, Piastri did not make it easy as they went wheel to wheel, but it was a fair fight. If Max Verstappen's victory for Red Bull came as a surprise, it served as another reminder of how quickly the tide can turn in Formula One. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Fikile Lingwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Hi there. Do you want to elevate your business and give it a voice in South Africa and Africa as a whole? Well, in that case, let Channel Africa make this a possibility. Channel Africa is willing to advertise your business for as little as 30,000 rands or $1,719.18. To get access to these great rates, send all requests to mokoenata@SABC. That's MOKOENATA@SABC. Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
All right, it is 36 minutes after 2 Central African Time. Thanks, Feeks. It's such an exciting time in sport. I really feel, the atmosphere. There's like a buzz in the air.
No RNA. No DNA, just RSA.
But also just globally. I mean, you look at tennis. Coco Gauff really disappointed me, but I don't know what it is with her in finals, honestly. But we're not focusing on that right now. Miss Zuma is standing by with the business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, team. Good afternoon. In your business news this hour, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa says Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana is finalizing the third edition of the 2025 budget. Parliament will host the third tabling of the budget on Wednesday. This says Godongwana gets back to the drawing board to craft a third budget. The first two attempts failed due to disagreements among members of the Government of National Unity, particularly the African National Congress and the Democratic Alliance over the proposed value-added tax increase. Speaking before leaving for the US, Ramaphosa said Godongwana was getting ready to present the budget on Wednesday.
The budget is almost ready. The Minister of Finance is putting the final touches to the budget, and that is going to be presented on the 21st. So that is not a problem at all.
South Africa's Deputy President Paul Mashatile has arrived in Paris. He has undertaken a working visit to France to cement bilateral relations with the European nation. The trip is also aimed at expanding cooperation projects as well as identifying new areas of cooperation with specific focus on trade and investment. Now, recently, International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola co-chaired the 9th session of the Forum for Political Dialogue between France and South Africa. Kailihle Khumalo has more.
Deputy President Mashatile is set to take part in the South Africa-France Investment Conference, where Pretoria will intensify cooperation in the fields of infrastructure development, science, technology and innovation, education and skills development. They also want to improve the already strong people-to-people links between the two countries and increase the flow of tourism to South Africa from France. France is the 14th largest investor in South Africa, with about 400 French companies investing in sectors such as financial services, renewable energy, rail, chemicals, oil and gas.
The South African Post Office, SAPO, has signed an agreement with the Unemployment Insurance Fund, UIF, for the $21 million. The funds aimed to safeguard almost 6,000 jobs and aid the post office's revival through a strategic partnership. The Minister of Employment and Labour, Nomakhosazana Math, yesterday said the UIF, through the Temporary Employer-Employee Relief Scheme, which is TIERS, will inject the funds into SAPO over a 6-month period. TIERS coordinator at the UIF, Rachel Daukubo.
This is only for salaries, and we are saying that as we save the post office their payroll funds, the 381 million that they would have ordinarily paid to the employees will be used elsewhere in terms of their turnaround strategy that they have implemented. So the post office will on a monthly basis be measured on the implementation of that turnaround strategy as well, including the verification that the money is paid to the employees.
Namibian President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah says her working visit to Botswana and Zambia last week aimed to strengthen bilateral relations with the neighboring countries. She discussed a number of bilateral and regional matters with her counterparts and highlighted some of the benefits that the recently discovered oil and gas in her country would provide the entire region and Africa. President Ndaitwah also explored possible infrastructure projects and economic linkages through Namibian ports, including Walvis Bay.
We found it appropriate to ensure that all our neighbors who are not coastal towns, they are linked to the sea, hence making available the dry ports. And those dry ports are not for governments alone, but for the private sector.
And finally, China has issued new regulations to rein in excessive spending by government officials on themselves. The country's faltering economy makes the battle against waste and corruption more urgent. The BBC's Mickey Bristol has more.
The rules detail how public money can be spent on items such as travel, buildings and food, banning cigarettes and alcohol at work meals. Tourism disguised as a business trip is forbidden. Waste is shameful, saving is glorious, officials have been told. These rules were an updated version of regulations released when Xi Jinping first became China's top leader more than a decade ago. Their reissue suggests his signature battle against corruption and extravagance has not yet been won.
Your financial indicators: one US dollar in Nigeria is trading at 1,599 naira 70, and Botswana is 13 pula 40. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 58, and in Zambia it's 26 kwacha 69. The BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 66. Russia is 80 rubles 84. India is 85 rupees 56. China at 7 yuan 20. And South Africa, $1 is trading at 18 rand 02. $1 is trading at 75 pence to the British pound and 89 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $3,246 and platinum at $993 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $64.91 a barrel. Now, for any business news stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom at channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I'm Nusipho Zuma.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Mix Vibration sur Channel Africa.
Nous allons accueillir sur ces plateaux de Mix Vibration un artiste pas comme les autres. Il est exceptionnel. Il se classe résolument dans la trajectoire des artistes qui défendent le patrimoine du folklore africain, mais aussi de la rumba. Ici, Jérémy Tchani.
En tout cas, je vous dis merci à la Channel Africa, à tout le monde qui nous suit. Dans la vie, si tu veux aller loin, il faut comprendre les temps. Il y a ceux-là qui étaient dans leur temps, mais à cause d'une mauvaise conduite, à cause des gens qui l'accompagnait, à cause de sa famille, à cause beaucoup de choses, son temps passé.
Voilà, donc il faut toujours gérer le temps. Chaque chose a son temps, dit-on. Et la couronne ne dure pas éternellement, dit-on. Donc il faut toujours gérer le temps que Dieu vous a donné sur la terre. C'est le message que Jérémy Tchani nous amène aujourd'hui sur Mix Vibration à Channel Africa.
Mix Vibration, tous les dimanches de 18h à 19h, temps universel.
Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside. Your daily dose of inspiration.
More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations
as well.
Name apps. I don't remember a name apps.
On what was that show? Izal. Uzal.
Also remember, I don't watch TV. I don't know.
Uzal is the guy with all the beard on his face. Anyway, I'll show you a picture of him.
Okay.
What caught your eye?
Yeah.
Shall I start?
Yes, go ahead.
What caught my eye were the ticket prices for the upcoming Springbok versus Italy game, which will take place in Loftus on the 5th of July.
Right.
Now, social media, it went viral last week. It trended because people were simply saying, my goodness me, we can't even afford to go and watch the Springboks anymore because the ticket prices are so expensive. And for a nation who rallies behind the Springboks, 4-time champions, we are in love with them. Yes, we want to watch them. Now the average person can't even go and watch a rugby game because the prices are so expensive. The cheapest price for this particular game was about 500 rand.
Yeah.
Right? And there was very limited tickets for that 500 rand. And then the normal prices start at about 1,250 rand to 3,000 rand. And people are simply saying it is unrealistic. We can't afford it. And I went online to see if it has sold out. It hasn't. It hasn't sold out. And I don't think it's going to sell out anytime soon.
When is the game?
On the 5th of July in Loftus Versfeld.
Well, I mean, I think it will definitely.
Still sell
I think
out.
it will definitely sell out. Right. We understand why this is happening.
Mm-hmm.
Do we? Do we understand why the prices are so high?
I've got my theories.
Okay.
Right? I've got my theories.
Give them to me.
So, one, they are a high value brand.
100%.
High value. 4-time world champions, the only ones in the world to have achieved that feat. Right? So you're dealing with a very high valued brand, a high valued team, and businesses pour into that space. Right? And the rugby fraternity itself is quite a booming market. Right? And so I understand that. High value brand. The other thing is, I think stadium and location plays a massive role, a massive factor, because I was comparing the tickets. There's going to be a game in Mbombela against Georgia, a game in Port Elizabeth against Italy, then a game in DHL Stadium in Cape Town against the Barbarians. Stadium also plays a role.
Sure.
Because the Mbombela tickets are way more affordable. Way more. The Port Elizabeth Stadium playing against the same team, way more affordable. Loftus, that's the one that we are talking about right now, very expensive. So stadium plays a role, and for me, the value of the team, and I understand, yes, highly deserve to be at that price point. But what does this mean for the average South African who aspires to be a Springbok one day, the child or parent who can't take their children there because it's so expensive? What does that mean? And they were comparing it with the Orlando Pirates and Kaizer Chiefs derby. And I understand that's club level, where the ticket prices were 10 times less than the prices we're seeing for the rugby.
So, I mean, I think you're right in saying, what does this mean? Asking the question, rather, what does this mean for the average South African, for development rugby, for young black, in particular, youngsters who want to get into rugby and who could potentially have been exposed to that level of professionalism as well, right? But that is kind of how any brand works. You start off in the small leagues. You ascend. You work your way up. You are world champions 4 times now. It will come at a cost. Yep. It will come at a cost, and unfortunately, the negative side of it is that it becomes a a classist issue then. Locking out a majority of people. But then that is up to the Rugby Confederation. I mean, I don't know what they're called. What are they?
So is it SARU? South
SARU.
African Rugby. They would have to then.
SARU would have to
have a say there.
Buffer ordinary South Africans who can't afford the 500 Rand, who can't afford the 1,000 Rand, and make sure that they are then compensating for whatever shortfall there is in order for tickets to be more affordable. But I don't know if that is a concern for them right now, versus just having bigger brands then also be affiliated to our rugby club. You know, it depends on where SARU is and if they are also hearing ordinary South Africans, or if they are just completely out of touch with.
It poses a risk because how do they hear when we actually sell out the stadiums? You know, we are on one hand saying, hey, it's expensive, but then the stadiums sell out. So whose voice will you listen to? The ones who are not able to afford, or the ones who paid and ensured that the stadium was paid out?
Another thing that is also sad are these broadcasting rights, typically for the World Cup rugby games, right? Oftentimes there's a back and forth. So never mind people not being able to go to the stadia, they will probably not be able to watch it on just ordinary TV.
Anyway, that's what caught my eye. What caught your eye this afternoon?
Man, oh man, I love it when art meets culture, meets creativity, meets spaces that are uncharted for art.
Okay.
This weekend, the new Betway Premiership Trophy by world-renowned artist Nelson Makamo was unveiled, and this is as Mamelodi Sundowns finished their 2024-25 season as the champions once more. Now, oh, you're shaking your head. Nelson Makamo. Okay, maybe let me explain. Let me explain. I don't know if you've seen pictures of. I've sent the pictures in the group.
Yes, we've seen them.
It is a thing of difference for me, and innovation and creativity. That's it, right? And that's what we wanted from Nelson.
Yep.
We didn't want him to rehash things that have already been created.
Been done. Yeah.
And I will say that I am slightly biased because I am a lover of art. I'm a lover of Nelson's work as well. Now, Nelson is a painter. He's not a trophy designer.
Yeah.
He's not a sculpture maker either. He's a painter. So I thought it was very interesting that the PSL would get him to design the next trophy. And I like it. But people on social media have gone on and likened it to a hubbly-bubbly thing, a hookah.
A hookah. Hubbly. Have you seen it? I think you should check it out.
Of course I've seen it. What do you mean? I really like it. There's so much symbolism in it as well when you understand the story behind its creation.
You know, amazing to have stories.
Stories are what sells, Tebogo. I don't understand what your problem is.
Stories are what sells? When you look at that trophy.
I love it, okay? And no one can say a thing.
The first question I have, why are there 3 balls on top of the thing? And why? So you see, he's got players sort of with their hands stretched out,
right?
Or a couple of players around, with their hands stretched out, reaching and holding a couple of balls. Why are there 3 of them up there?
So he was named after some soccer player, some famous soccer player.
What's his name again?
Nelson somebody.
Okay. Not a soccer connoisseur myself, so we'll have to ask around.
The meaning behind all of the men as well who are around there is that men from Ekasi's fathers used to play soccer. Right? We all kind of have a story about how your dad was
and he was the best.
And he was the best.
Your dad will always tell you he was the best.
Fine legs or whatever. So that's also like a community of men, of young men who were raised by soccer players coming from the hood.
Oh, is that the story?
It's definitely part of the story and his own personal story about how he's inspired by soccer. Guys, you need to have an appreciation for art in order to get this new trophy. That's all I'm saying. For everybody who is berating it, and I think it also shows your your understanding of culture and the times.
Okay.
Because if you are likening it to a hooker,
yeah,
that's where your mind is at. That's your orientation.
But if it looks like,
no, it doesn't.
If it looks like, what must we say? Must we now completely be oblivious to the fact that it looks like, and therefore we said it is?
So suffice to say that you also don't like it.
Look, shout out being creative, expressing himself, and my problem is that you can only one person can hold it. I saw how it was gripped. Like you can sort of grip it. It's not like a trophy. A normal trophy, you feel like there are two people who can hold it, and then you can lift it up as a team. You know that.
You'll find a place to hold.
The
bottom, the side, you can just put your hand there. And I mean, guys.
I mean, shout out to him because he's doing something new, something we haven't seen before. And who knows, maybe this will catch on and become the latest way of expressing how trophies can. But personally, I saw it and I'm like, I'm indifferent about it.
Oh.
I'm indifferent about it. I'm not saying I'm hating it, and I'm not saying I'm absolutely in love with it.
I would rather you had a strong emotion, either for or against. Indifference is ugh.
I'll stick to indifferent because I love the fact that he looked at this thing and he put it to one side and he said, he stepped back. He said, wow, this is brilliant. So I like that he went through all of that and he put it down and said, this is brilliant. But then I'm also like, hey, you are challenging the status quo of how it actually looks like and what we are used to. And so I'm like, I'm indifferent about it. What do you think? Check it out. Well, let's put it on our social media platform.
Right? I'm very keen to hear what you make of it. Head on over to our social media platforms, TikTok in particular. It's at Channel Africa 1, and let us know. If you want to dial us, it's +276 340 9126, and tell us there what you make of the new PSL Championship trophy, designed by Nelson Makamo. But for now, it is 3 p.m. Central African Time. We make way for Joalane Tulongwebe with the news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Nompumelelo. Top stories as Sawa. The cases against Tanzanian opposition leader postponed until next month, and the WHO head warns that global healthcare funding is facing Cato's rather historic challenges. Good afternoon. The cases against Tanzanian opposition leader Tundu Lissu have been postponed until the 2nd of June. The cases are in connection with the alleged publication of false information online and another related to treason. There was heavy police presence at the court, with some security personnel wearing balaclavas. Spokesperson for Chadema, Brenda Riaf, says the details surrounding the case remain sketchy.
The government actually said they have 15 witnesses against that are going to go against Tundu Lissu, and they're going to. They said they will bring them to court on the 2nd of June. They refused to disclose the 15 people's names. So we also had Chadema also had eight witnesses, of which the people will be disclosed on the 2nd of June as well.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to arrive in the US later today. Ramaphosa is on a state visit to meet his counterpart, Donald Trump. Top on the agenda is the strained relations between the two countries after the US president signed an executive order offering white South African Afrikaners refugee status on allegations that they are under attack. Shawan Bryce Pease reports.
If their meeting is televised, then it's a no-brainer. It'd be hard not to watch. After all, this is a strained relationship with differences that have tested the partnership in recent months. And how the two heads of state managed that in front of a room full of senior aides and journalists lobbing questions on all topics could make for an interesting fly-on-the-wall scenario. It's live reality TV, and the stage is the Oval Office. When to pivot, maybe a frown, a smile, even a nod. Ask Zelensky, Khani, Maloney would have some thoughts. It's a show with expectations of a performance. President Ramaphosa has his constituency, President Trump his. They'll both be expecting a win.
Meanwhile, South Africans have expressed mixed reactions to Ramaphosa's visit to the US. Here are the views of some citizens.
Can we be allowed to have South African solutions for South African problems?
President Ramaphosa and President Trump should focus on just trying to have benefits on both countries.
I don't think this meeting is going to yield any positive result.
Ramaphosa should do as Trump is, firstly make peace. The South African government has attacked Israel in the ICJ. I think it's a huge mistake.
Personally, I do believe that Trump is just playing politics.
It's very important that all relations are intact for the good of our economy.
As a president of a country of over 60 million people, you need to know that you've got so many people backing up, so you shouldn't be bullied by a president from another country.
Hundreds of economic freedom fighters supporters continue to trickle in at the Union buildings in Pretoria, South Africa. This as the party holds what it calls a victory march against the scrapping of an increase in VAT tax that government had planned to introduce but later retracted after court action and public dissent. Dimakatso Leshoro has filed this report.
Hours ahead of what's now known as Budget 3.0, the EFF, in a show of force, is protesting against government's fiscal policy over the few financial years that saw cuts in expenditure and vacancies remaining unfilled. The party is opposed to tax increases that it considers regressive, like VAT, but says some form of wealth tax should be implemented along with increases in company taxes. South Africa's fourth largest political party is celebrating the scrapping of a proposed VAT increase in March. It says the budget to be delivered on Wednesday should be geared towards growing the economy and job creation. For Channel Africa News, I'm Dimakatso Leshoro in Pretoria.
The head of the World Health Organization, or WHO, has warned that global healthcare funding is facing historic challenges. As he opened the UN agency's annual General Assembly in Geneva, Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus told delegates that people in at least 70 countries were missing out on vital treatments due to recent funding cuts. The week-long assembly is the first to be held since President Donald Trump began the process of withdrawing the US from the WHO. Recapping the top story this hour, the cases against Tanzanian opposition leader Tundu Lissu have been postponed until the 2nd of June. The cases are in connection with the alleged publication of false information online and another related to treason. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Cholani Tulo Webe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Dum-dum-dum-dum. 6 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African Time. Can you believe it's the final hour of The Upside? Thank you so much for tuning into Channel Africa this afternoon for The African Perspective. We are broadcasting live from our Auckland Park studios in Johannesburg, South Africa. And you can stream us live, see our lovely studios, see ourselves, the lovely faces behind the mic, at Channel Africa 1 on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and at Channel Africa on Facebook. Use the hashtag The Upside. In this hour, we talk all things side hustles. Over and above your 9 to 5, why are we seeing more and more South Africans get side hustles or delve into the side hustle market? Is it a market at this stage?
Yeah, well, not a formalized one, right?
Formalized one.
But it also, I'm finding more and more that the culture of side hustle is not a culture of side hustle. Let me explain. Beginning of this year, we spoke to DJ Fresh.
Oh, okay.
Who spoke about the power of owning your own time. And this is where the world of work, for me, as I've observed it, is moving to.
Mm-hmm.
Bosses, organizations can no longer behold one to the entirety of their time. Those times are slowly moving away. You hire a person for a given time.
Yes.
Pay them for that given time, and their time is theirs.
Absolutely.
Gone are the days, I think, where organizations could say, we pay you this amount of money to have access to you all the time, whenever, forever. It doesn't work like that anymore. People are increasingly learning that there is nothing more invaluable in this world than having dominance and ownership of your own time, and being your own boss and a company, working as a business and offering your expertise to the various organizations.
You know, there are some people who really, despite having a side hustle, they enjoy their 9-to-5s. This side hustle is just an additional income to supplement certain areas. Maybe they want to build, upgrade their house or buy a house for the first time. And they're using this additional income to get there a lot quicker than with the individual or the single income that they have. But they still love their
I was just about to say,
jobs.
but also still love their side hustle.
And still love their side hustles. There are
I don't
some
know
who just
people who go
into
into side hustles that they hate, because that's also sometimes an escape from your 9-to-5, which you may not love.
For some people, they do the side hustle as a passion project. Like, finally, I get to do it now, right? I've been thinking about it for the longest time. For others, it's a means to an end.
Yeah.
So they will delve into side hustles that are not necessarily their passion, but they know they bring value, and therefore they will bring an income to them. So I just want to find out, especially from you at home, if you have a side hustle, is it out of passion or is it out of necessity at the moment?
Is it the money?
Is it the money? +276 406 9126. And is your side hustle the main thing that you want to focus on so you can get fully into it? Because some might have it as a side hustle, but they want to turn it into the main hustle at some stage. Where do you stand? Because I'm happy to have a side hustle that I don't have to fully be into, right? Because it's supplementing certain areas of my life that this single income cannot. We'd love to hear from you. Side hustles, it's a thing now in South Africa, around the world anyway, not just in South Africa.
Yeah, I think we used to think it was bizarre when we heard people in the US saying, oh, my second, third job, my fourth job. I was like, where do people get the time for a second and third job? But now, listen, you will make the time if you want to survive in these economies. It's 10 minutes after 3 Central African time.
Channel Africa, your voice, your sound, and your home. Stay locked right here.
Je, una jambo lolote akilini mwako? Je, una shauku kuhusu masuala muhimu? Na je, una maoni ambayo unataka yasikike? Kweli, hili jukwaa ni la kwako. Piga simu au tuandikie kwenda WhatsApp namba alama ya kujumulisha 2760552594 na tutakupigia simu.
Mtangazaji wa habari zetu za Afrika Kusini mjini Johannesburg.
Hivyo unaweza kuwa mshirika kwenye matangazo yetu. Sio mazungumzo tu, ni fursa yako ya kuchangia maoni yako na kushirikiana na jumuiya ya wasikilizaji wanaotamani mtazamo wako. Tufuate kwenye mitandao ya kijamii. Tembelea tovuti yetu www.channelafrica.co.za na uwe tayari kushiriki na kuchangia maoni yako kwenye Channel Africa. Channel Africa, mtazamo wa Kiafrika.
Você é fluente em português? É apaixonado por rádio e quer trabalhar na África do Sul? Você tem documentos que o qualificam para trabalhar na África do Sul? Nesse caso, podemos ter uma oportunidade para você trabalhar no Canal África. Envie seu currículo e demonstração para Canal África at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Lembre-se, se você não receber alguma resposta nossa em 14 dias, isso significa que você não foi selecionado. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Whatever you want to hear about today's talk, you can get it on the upside.
Since 1947, the matter never settle. You be but I be get to. Masability lo ya won lenu. Better recognize. Greatest of all time. No other name then go call mine. As I dey shanty them not nice. Monday, Dala. Tuesday, Dala. Wednesday, Dala. As long as Nigeria. And they call me the Godfather. Move like an Italian. Have you ever seen a nigga like moi? Each and every lady wanna give me mwah. When they smoke weed, when they smoke cigar. Now we there, I try to move on. I know two basking Solomon. I get high, I journaling. You don't like me, wallow more. My advice is fun alone. Cause my guys don't follow no. When the sky start falling down. I'm still your daddy.
Olele fala, my pretty Malayami. I'm single, follow on me. My jetty color, wait for low, along on me. Engine the bacalang on me. But I love on me. Wait for love on me. I pray, color on me. Could you go on me? The bacalang on me. My name is one of them. I give you one, I call on my band, you would all on me. Keep the bang as a telala. Yap, and you tell about. Tiki bang, tell you, tell me. Wait for love on me. I'm a melu, yes, the one. Palango banga na matala. I'm a kiss, I'm a cause savana. Felix Colegulu, taba. Shivirim, say. Even the kubu, I'm a play. So, but tell you, mama, me, yo.
Tuesday, Wednesday, as long as Nigeria. And they call me the Godfather. Move like an Italian.
Olele fala, my pretty Malayami. I'm single, follow on me. My jetty color, wait for low, along on me. Engine the bacalang on me. But I love on me. Wait for love on me. Wait for love on me.
Chwalabam. That's the remix with Burna Boy. It's 15 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African time. Thank you so much for tuning into The Upside on Channel Africa for the African perspective. We are streaming live from our Auckland Park studios in Johannesburg, South Africa. Join in on this conversation on our social media platform at Channel Africa 1 on X, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and at Channel Africa on Facebook. Let's talk about the rise of side hustles in South Africa. Your salary may have gone up, but chances are your money isn't going as far as it used to. Rising inflation and living costs are squeezing household budgets across South Africa. But something powerful has emerged in response: the rise of the side hustle. From baking and tutoring to online selling and design work, more South Africans are diversifying their income than ever before. Today we are joined by Gavin Letley, product head for retail loans at Direct Access, to unpack what it really takes to turn your passion project into a paying gig without burning out or going broke. Gavin, thank you so much for your time and welcome to The Upside.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me this afternoon.
Gavin, let's start with you. Do you have a side hustle?
I don't have a side hustle. I've got lots of hobbies. Would love to turn a professional golfer, but I think I'm a very long way from that.
Oh no! What's your handicap?
Still at 18, so I've still got a very long way to go.
Listen, give yourself a couple more years. Who knows? You might be the next PGA winner. It's never too late, Gavin. It's never too late. Let's talk about the financial health from a financial health perspective. How important, Gavin, is it to have multiple sources of income in this economy that we find ourselves in?
Yeah, I think more and more people are finding it's better to diversify your income and, like I said, have multiple streams of income coming in. So you're not reliant on one. And if there's a downside of one of your income streams, you've always got a surplus or other avenues to explore to generate income.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I think 14 to 16% of South Africans now have a side hustle. And it's a lot easier.
Could you repeat those stats again, Gavin?
14 to 16% of households have a side hustle.
You can continue. We just wanted to make sure that we had the stats right. 14 to 16%.
Yeah. So, and it's a lot easier to start a side hustle than it was 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
The internet, social media, connectivity, it's a lot easier to start a side hustle and a lot easier to make an additional income.
Yeah, I suppose the advent of the internet and AI has made it quite easy. In fact, Tebogo and I were speaking earlier on about a social media user who, it's something very simple on TikTok. You know these AI-generated babies?
Yeah.
And within 7 days, he had how many? 1 million followers?
100,000.
100,000
which is phenomenal.
within 7 days.
Yeah.
And you know, you live in a country where they monetize TikTok, then there you go. All you have to do is keep on posting cute babies. But Gavin, let's talk about the people who are ideal for having side hustles. I'm sure not everybody, while we all want a side hustle because of the monetary benefits, it is only suited for a certain kind of person. Is that true?
Yeah, so true and false. I think anybody can start a side hustle. What I always find in my own experience is somebody who starts a side hustle and something they're passionate about is more likely to succeed. If you're passionate about writing, start your own blog. If you're passionate about baking, like you said, start your cupcake business.
Yeah.
And your passion normally drives your side hustle, which normally drives your success. And as you said earlier, also with the advent of the internet, and you're no longer restrained by a geographical location. You don't have to sell to your local community or to your local family and friends. You can actually open your borders through, like I said, social media and sell to people around the world. Make your content available to people around the world. Make your imagery, your photography to people around the world. It's become a lot more easier to trade with less barriers of trade these days put in place.
We are currently talking to Gavin Letley, product head for retail loans at Direct Access, about the rise in side hustles in South Africa. Don't go anywhere. It's 20 minutes after 3 p.m.
Mornings made better with Peter and Asanda on Rise and Shine.
I want the Africa that makes every single African proud of the continent and have hope. And there's so much stuff that's going on that's positive. And if we can just lock into that, Nomaganjani, everyone is going to get there.
Where are we going? Where are we trying to get to?
The idea of working together, which is why I'm excited about this new voice.
And the new voice is me, Asanda Peta, broadcast journalist with about 15 years of experience on the radio space.
Welcome, Asanda. I've been waiting for you for a long time.
Were you waiting for me?
I was.
Really?
Yeah, because for 3 months I was on my own.
So be sure to tune in right here on Channel Africa Mondays to Fridays from 6 till 9 a.m. Central African Time.
If you want to know about your continent, this is the best place to start your day.
Rise and Shine on Channel Africa.
Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside. Your daily dose of inspiration, innovation, and untold stories from across Africa. With Nompumelelo and Tebogo.
It's 21 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African Time. We are still in conversation with Gavin Letley. He's the product head for retail loans at Direct Access about the rise in side hustles in South Africa. Gavin, let's talk about the practicality of starting a side hustle. For many people, they have a 9-to-5. How do you best approach it without overworking yourself, overwhelming yourself, or even spending too much money that should be taking care of other things on the side hustle, which you haven't tested yet? How do we best go about starting the side hustle?
So even with a side hustle, and like any business, it's always great to start a business plan. Start from scratch, get a blank piece of paper, and understand, first of all, your business and how you're going to sell your business and what is your target market. So create a really basic, simple business case and start running that past family and friends, because the more input you get, the more likely you are to succeed. Once you've got the framework of a very basic business idea, concept, and thought of what you want to achieve, you need to understand what are the practicalities and the costs associated with setting up a side hustle. A side hustle is like any business. You have to understand a full breakdown of everything. So understand startup costs, for example. If you are going to create a new website, what is the cost to host that website, manage that website, the cost of uploading imagery to that website. If it's a practical thing where you're selling something, understand the cost of transport, cost of manufacturing, cost of marketing. There's sometimes costs people always forget about is, for example, your legal and compliance costs. Do you have to have terms and conditions drafted by a legal practitioner? Do you have to have information disclosures on your website? Understand all that type of stuff. Most importantly, which often is where the costs run away, is the cost of marketing and branding. How are you going to promote your product or your service to your target market, and how much is going to cost you? That will give you a good framework of what you're going to be in for to get this business going, and to keep it running. And sometimes it's better to start small. Say, I've got 1,000 to 2,000 rand, which I can invest in this business. What can I get for that 1,000, 2,000 rand? You're not going to automatically replace your income overnight, but if you start small, you can start building on your income as the months progress.
At what point then would you advise, Gavin, anyone to leave their primary job? You know, it's not always that people start side hustles with the idea of having a side hustle forever. Some want to eventually make it their main hustle because it's something typically that they are way more passionate about, right? At what point does one make the jump to say, all right, this can be self-sustaining?
It could be a variety of factors. I think probably normally the one from a side hustle perspective is, can I replace my existing income? Is my family going to be in the same position what it was if I leave my primary job? So that's normally the number one driver. The second driver are normally things like, I'm actually enjoying my side hustle a lot more than my 9 to 5 behind a desk staring at a computer all day. I like going to markets. I like selling cupcakes. And that sense of enjoyment might actually outweigh the financial benefit of having a 9 to 5 job, which allows you to do other things, spend more time with your family, spend more time with your friends, which might be more enriching than being stuck inside an office all day long. And then the final thing, often why entrepreneurs start up, is flexibility too. They are their own boss. They don't have to listen to somebody. They can do what they want to, when they want to, how they want to. So I think between those three primary factors is normally when you start saying, I'm actually going to pull the plug on this and go on my own.
Gavin, let's talk about, and I know you may not be able to touch on them specifically, but you mentioned that if it's a passion, then maybe go for it. Go for that side hustle. And that can be very relative to the person and what their passions are. Are there specific side hustles that are proving to be very popular or very profitable in South Africa at the moment?
There's multiple myriads of it. But from what I've gathered, to my point earlier, is somebody's passionate and dedicated to something is more than likely going to succeed. A lot of the things we're seeing at the moment are people starting up buying and selling businesses. They can create their own website. But then you're going up against the beasts from the big retailers within South Africa, and they can often undercut you and make it difficult for you to operate. But the ability to start your own business is very easy these days. Start your own website. To get your own digital store is a lot easier, and you don't have to have a bricks and mortar store to be able to sell X amount of widgets on a monthly basis.
So I love what you had to say, Gavin, about, you keep pressing on passion. There's no way that something you're not passionate about will not succeed. And secondly, I love that you you highlighted the non-monetary aspects and value that one can get from a side hustle, and that being enough to actually leave a primary job, right? Because I think there is a new wave of people who are saying time with family, time to heal my nervous system from a toxic working environment is actually the one thing that I am striving for over and above the monetary value that I would get from a side hustle. Let's talk about the importance that we place or don't place on just well-being over money when looking at side hustles.
Yeah, I mean, some people are purely driven by money, but I think as people get older, more mature, they start appreciating the finer things in life. Sometimes earning 20%, 23% less is better, and knowing the fact that you can go for a walk in the forest, go for a walk with your family, is a lot more rewarding. Spending time with your kids. I've even seen friends who've started side hustles where they do coaching, for example, and they will coach at schools where the kids are. And that way it allows them to generate extra income, but also spend time with their children at the schools and get to know the wider school community. And they find that a lot more rewarding than like I said, the 9 to 5. And maybe that's my side hustle one day. I'll become a golf coach because I might not be able to turn pro one day.
There we go. Gavin, is there any support that Direct Access offers to budding entrepreneurs who are trying to get, or not just entrepreneurs, but people who want to get into the side hustle and want to do it responsibly? Are there any support programs or packages?
There's a lot of information on our website, the Direct Access website. We do have information around starting side hustles. I think the biggest advice I can give individuals who are looking to start a side hustle is try to keep your financials separate. So from your side hustle, from your day-to-day. Because you don't want your side hustle to erode all your expenses in your personal capacity, and then you actually end up in a worse-off situation. I think most businesses fail due to cash flow issues, whether it be a side hustle or a business or a startup. So make sure you can manage your cash flow accordingly. And often, sometimes you might want to take out financing for your side hustle, but keep it separate from your personal capacity. So sometimes you might say, I want to take a loan on my bond, or I'd like to take a loan on a personal loan. I know I can get, say, 2,000 Rand. For 2,000 Rand a month, I can get 50,000 Rand loan, and that 50,000 Rand loan will allow me to start a business, but the 2,000 Rand installment won't impact my day-to-day and my living expenses. Because there's nothing worse. You start a side hustle, you plow all your money, everything into it, and then you're in a worse position than what you were 18 months ago. So like I said, to my first point, understand the costs, understand your cash flow, and then try to keep your side hustle income and expenditures separate from your personal life.
That is really sage advice that you gave us there, Gavin Letley. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Have a lovely afternoon.
All right, that is Gavin Letley, who is a product head for retail loans at Direct Access. Let us know what side hustle has made you tons of money, where you are. Perhaps, we may get some ideas. It's 30 minutes after 3 Central African time. Fikile Lengwadi, standing by.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
We kick off with football news. Amajida will travel to the Under-20 FIFA World Cup in Chile in September as African champions. Amajida were crowned continental champions for the first time after beating Morocco 1-0 in the final of the Under-20 AFCON in Cairo, Egypt. It was sweet revenge for South Africans after they lost to Morocco in 1997 final by the same scoreline. The last time Amajita reached the final of this tournament was under Sheiks Mashaba with the team that went on to represent South Africa at the 2000 Olympic Games in Sydney, Australia. South Africa's goalkeeper, Fletcher Lowe, was voted man of the match in the final and also walked away with the goalkeeper of the tournament award.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to not only me but for the team. This award is for the team. I mean, with only me and without them, we'd be nowhere. Together we're stronger. I mean, obviously it's nice to do my part, but the real plaudits go out to everyone who does the work. Not even the people behind the scenes, physios, doctors, fitness coaches, and the players as well. I mean, it's amazing what we've been able to do.
The final club to qualify for the highly anticipated FIFA Club World Cup 2025 will be determined on the 31st of May. The match will be played between US side Los Angeles Football Club and Mexican powerhouse Club America in a high-stakes play-in match at BMO Stadium in Los Angeles, California. Following the recent Court of Arbitration for Sport decisions, FIFA decided that the final club to be admitted to the tournament will be determined by a play-in match between the two teams. The winners of the play-in will claim the final spot at this year's Global Club Showpiece and will take their place in Group D alongside Brazil's CR Flamengo, Tunisian outfit Esperance Sportive de Tunis, and English side Chelsea FC. Now, rugby news. University of Cape Town UCT student Ntokozo Makaza has been selected for the Springboks' latest alignment camp. Ntokozo says to be part of the camp is an amazing opportunity and a learning experience. He says the main goal is to learn and absorb as much as he can ahead of his move to the Cheetahs. Makaza says it is an honor and a privilege to be elected and is truly humbled by the opportunity.
If in order to say that I would be part of the Springbok alignment camp a few years back, even beginning of this year, I'd look at them and laugh. To even be considered, it's an honor and a privilege. I'm truly humbled. I think it's being created by the coaches and the players, that opportunity, that platform they gave me. And us performing well, obviously, it made people see the individual in the team. And fortunately for me, I was one of those individuals. So I'm really humbled and excited for the opportunity.
On to athletics. The National Sports Commission of Nigeria has officially announced the formation of the local organizing committee, LOC, for the highly anticipated third African Under-18, Under-20 Athletics Championship. The championship is set to take place in Abu Okuta, Ogun State, from the 16th to the 20th of July, 2025. The 15-member committee comprises a diverse group of experienced professionals in sports administration and related fields. Tony Obani reports.
According to the Director General of the National Sports Commission, Bukola Olakpade will chair the LOC, while Wasiu Isiaka will serve as the Vice Chairman. The African Under-18, Under-20 Athletic Championship is expected to draw over 500 athletes from 53 African countries. With Abiogula's upgraded sports infrastructure, Nigeria aims to host a memorable edition of the competition showcasing the best of African youths athletics.
Let's end with Nigeria's Favor Ofili became the first woman to dip under 16 seconds for 150 meter with a performance at the Adidas Atlanta City Games street meeting, a World Athletics Continental Tour silver event at the weekend. Racing on a straight temporary track, 22-year-old Olympic 200 meter finalist clocked 15.85 seconds and won clear ahead of USA's Tamari Davis, who with 16.14 seconds was also inside the 16.23 seconds world's best achieved by Shunei Mila Uibo in Boston in 2018. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. This is Channel Africa Sport with me, Figile Lungwati.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Africa, voici Abedi.
Oui, c'est moi.
Abedi est un passionné de musique dans l'âme. Il a un goût pour toutes sortes de musique et passe ses journées à écouter Channel Africa.
J'aime beaucoup la musique africaine.
Ok. Devinez quoi? Channel Africa veut aider Abedi et les mélomanes du monde entier à découvrir encore plus de musique incroyable. C'est pourquoi Channel Africa appelle les artistes africains à soumettre leur musique. Chers artistes, n'oubliez pas de nous fournir toutes vos informations pertinentes à l'email adresse musique@channelafrica.co.za. Les soumissions sont votre chance d'être entendues, mais elles ne garantissent pas une playlist. Toutes les soumissions seront soigneusement examinées pour voir si elles répondent aux exigences de notre station. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
It's 24 minutes before 4 p.m. Central African Time. Nosipho Zuma has your latest in business.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, team. Good afternoon. In your business news this hour, the Agri-Western Cape in South Africa says commercial farmers exporting to the USA will be hard hit if the AGOA agreement is not renewed. President Cyril Ramaphosa is heading a delegation to the US to discuss, among others, trade and tariff agreements. The African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA, grants preferential access to the US market for qualifying exports from South Africa, which includes citrus fruit and wines. The US President Donald Trump's unilateral hiking of tariffs earlier this year unsettled local citrus and wine farmers. Agri-West Cape CEO Jenny Stradom says farmers will have to go back to the drawing board if the agreement is not rekindled.
75% of all agricultural produce exported to the United States are covered under the AGOA agreement. So it's a huge benefit for the agricultural sector. In terms of our opinion regarding the renewal of the agreement, I'm personally of the opinion that given what's going on in the global trade market around the world, I don't think it will be renewed, and we will have to have a plan B.
South Africa's Minister in the Presidency for Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, Cindy Chigunga, has lauded the banking and financial sector's continued support. Chigunga, who spoke at a roundtable held in Johannesburg, said the aim was to foster inclusivity by engaging corporate stakeholders. The minister said it was pivotal to also engage in G20-related discussions during and beyond South Africa's G20 presidency. She said with these efforts, more support will also be extended to women, youth and persons with disability.
What I liked about the presentations was the issue of emphasizing the collaboration among themselves. To say there are resources, but maybe we may not even as finance institutions be effectively impactful on what we are doing because we work in silos. If we were to share the resources that we have and work together, we may even be more impactful.
Caudal Mineral expects to receive an export permit soon for the 27,000 metric tons of lithium concentrated stockpiled at its Bangor project in Mali, having previously reported export delays because of regulatory hurdles. The delays come against a backdrop of declines in global lithium production, potentially by 228,000 tons this year, as miners curtail operations in the face of falling prices for the metal used in electric vehicle batteries. Mali is seeking to develop its significant lithium reserves at a time when its military-led government is asserting more control over the mining sector in an effort to generate more revenue. Oil has slipped weighed down by Moody's downgrade of the U.S. sovereign credit rating in official data that showed slowing growth in China's industrial output and retail sales. Both developments raised concerns over the outlook for the world's two biggest economies. Brent crude futures lost 57 U.S. cents to $64.84 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude slipped by 54 cents to $61.95. The nearby June WTI contract expires on Tuesday. And finally, China has issued new regulations to rein in excessive spending by government officials on themselves. The country's faltering economy makes the battle against waste and corruption more urgent. The BBC's Mickey Bristow has more.
The rules detail how public money can be spent on items such as travel, buildings and food, banning cigarettes and alcohol at work meals. Tourism disguised as a business trip is forbidden. Waste is shameful, saving is glorious, officials have been told. These rules are an updated version of regulations released when Xi Jinping first became China's top leader more than a decade ago. Their reissue suggests his signature battle against corruption and extravagance has not yet been won.
Your financial indicators: one US dollar in Nigeria is trading at 1,599 naira 70, and Botswana it's 13 bula 40. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 58, and in Zambia it's 26 kwacha 69. The BRICS countries: $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 66. Russia is 80 rubles 84. India is 85 rupees 56. China at 7 yuan 20, and South Africa $1 is trading at 18 rand 2 cents. $1 is trading at 75 pence to the British pound and 89 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $3,246 and platinum at $993 per ounce. The price of Brent crude oil is at $64.91 a barrel. Now, for any business news stories you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I'm Nusipho Zuma.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802. Ahoy, matey!
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa 1. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa 1. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. No fairy tales, just the facts and the music you love on Channel Africa. The upside. On the upside, your voice matters. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future.
The Upside. On the Upside, your voice matters.
We ain't even got a track on it. I got many blessings, I could brag on it. I've been through the fire, I could talk on it. And I heard it on the street that they got love for me.
Oh, show Baba. Now Baba gonna make me turn my swag on. Them they got to me anytime when the song's on. Them they see it like they shining, them they wrong come.
Now you see, say we there on the city. I don't think that any one of you can step to titty. I just wanna sing the song. Break it down, oh yeah, shake it to the dawn,
yeah. Baba God don't bless us. Now why we they talk this matter, eh? Some people want to pull me down, I still they walk, eh?
No be say them say, no they to like say you know no. No be say them say, my brother.
Oh yeah, Joe for me, I do bear for one. And but it's okay, I do bear for one. Oh yeah, go mole, I do bear for one. Jack a Jones okay.
Brother, if I start to talk, the thing where I don't take my eyes, see we no go in. My brother, we no go in. If I start to count, the thing where my back on it don't do, we no go in. My sister, we no go in. If I start to talk, the thing where my back on it don't do, we no go in.
My sister,
we no go in. If I start to count all the blessings my back on they give me, we no go in. My brother, I no go in. Oh yeah, throw your hands up in the air for me. If you feel it, sing along, sing the song for me. You can pop anything, lift the bill for me. When the sun comes on, know your job for me.
No follow them, they complain. Make you no forget, say Baba God day. Every day is a good day. Holiday from Monday to Sunday.
Oh yeah, kumole, oh yeah, it's okay. Oh yeah, pate, what show them problem no day. See my life today, blessings every day. And they shine so bright.
It they make them they wonder why we they so composed. Anything we do, we they in control. Anywhere we go, then they won't follow. And anything we touch, we they turn to gold. Oh yeah, Joe for me, I do bear for one. And go it's okay, I do bear for one. Oh yeah, go mole, I do bear for one. Jack a Jones okay.
Brother, if I start to talk, the thing where I don't take my eyes, see we no go in. My brother, we no go in. If I start to count, the thing where my back on it don't do, we no go in. My sister, we no go in. If I start to talk, the thing where my back on it don't do, we no go in.
My sister, we no go in.
If I start to count all the blessings my back on they give me, we no go in. My brother, I no go in. Welcome in a day, every day blessing. Friends they come and go, but you no leave me alone.
What a jam. Tiwa Savage featuring Dr. Sid there with If I Start to Talk. I mean, it sounds like a threat. You know, when people say...
And then what must happen after if I start to talk? And then what?
It was all going to go downhill for you.
And before that, we had African Beauty by Diamond Platinums featuring Omarion. You know, some songs, they just, in actual fact, they try to tell us a message.
Okay.
That song, If I Start to Talk,
I
think Tiwa Savage has files.
Yeah, definitely. Like, don't test me because...
That song was actually directed to someone. Let's not lie.
Because dare I open my mouth, my brother, things are not going to end well for you. That's exactly what Tiwa Savage was trying to say there. I'm quite sad that we've come to the end of Monday edition of the show.
Fantastic show. We spoke about property, gated community versus standalone. We spoke about side hustles. This past weekend, remember last week, a rugby player passed away by the name of Cornel Hendricks.
Yes,
right?
Very young.
Very young, 37 years old. 37 years old, was a heart attack. Right. This past weekend, all the different rugby teams were paying tribute. They would, moment of silence before the game began. The Sharks went a step further. The captain this weekend, the stand-in captain, Eben Etzebeth, he had an idea, and it popped up like it was a very random overnight idea.
Sure.
And he said, listen, what if we have a jersey with the number 14? On the one, we have Cornell's face, and on the 14, we have his name and the date from birth to when he passed. And what if we take that jersey and put it online on an auction and let people bid on it, so that the funds that we then get from that
go to the family.
So on game day, on Saturday, the Sharks players were all wearing this jersey as a training jersey. All of them had the number 14. I thought it was such a moving tribute, and what an initiative. And I'm pretty sure it's going to help the family of the Hendricks Hendricks family.
Do we know what it has bid at currently?
Starting price is 10,000 Rand per jersey.
Okay, and they are for the entire team.
Yeah, there were quite a few. There were quite a few, and it's actually not just the players who were wearing. I saw some of the technical support staff who also had that jersey. So from 10,000 Rand.
Do you not think it would have been probably a better bet, or their margins would be better if there was only just one?
If there was just one, I think it would have gone into the hundreds.
Absolutely,
of thousands.
because I'm likely to bid on something that is exclusive. Now,
it feels like you can get you can get one, two, if maybe
I'm
three,
not going
four. But look, I mean, listen, the proceeds from this will still go 100% to the Hendricks family. I think it's going to be a massive contributor, and it's going to be of significant value to them. So shout out, big up, what a great initiative. And I think more of this, we need to see more of it, especially in the entertainment industry. I wouldn't mind seeing that. No? Oh, wow. You're
I'm
a bit hesitant about that.
Yeah, I'm not the target market.
You're not the target market.
No. Because I think of our entertainment industry and whose face I'd want to wear and bid great money for. No one.
It's really to help the family.
I understand that, but maybe make it worth my while. You know what I mean? It's not. But as I say, I'm not the target market. I'm sure there is a market out there. Speaking of jerseys, sportsman jerseys, have you seen these new ones that are knitted by various or for various clubs? So Kaizer Chiefs has one.
Yeah.
Orlando Pirates.
Yeah. Remember, it was trending at some point.
Ooh, right? Our producer, Nompumelelo Tango, has one.
Which one?
I know.
Oh my goodness.
Chiefs. She has the Chiefs one, and those ones are beautiful. I wish I was a Chiefs fan just for that jersey. For that jersey.
I'm not the biggest, and I've said this before, I'm not the biggest soccer head, right? But I will definitely get one.
Which one are you getting?
The Kaizer Chiefs
one.
The
Kaizer Chiefs. It is beautiful.
It's beautiful. You can dress that up, dress that down.
Definitely.
It's beautiful.
It really is.
So I'm going to get one. just to be spicy, I'll get the Orlando Pirates one as well.
Look at fashion. Orlando Pirates, Nompumelelo is also getting an Orlando Pirates one.
Nice.
Look at fashion, but also just transcending into the sports world. I think they always have kind of lived side by side, hey?
It's been there. You think of, I think the people who made it very popular.
Teams.
The UK teams, yes.
European
but
teams.
I think when it comes to basketball, the Americans
Yes.
really remember the Michael Jordan era. They would come to the practice or the games all kitted out. And so the fashion and sport have always lived side by side.
I love the resurgence of it in this way. I really, really do. And I mean, this is a small South African business that started these jerseys. They decided we're going to just start making jerseys for these clubs. And they're making really, really good money from it. I understand that they're also doing rugby jerseys as well, designing unique jerseys for all of these South African clubs. So it's fantastic to see.
It's a side hustle that has turned into a full hustle.
Right, and making really good money.
Yeah.
But we are out of here, everybody. It's been an absolute pleasure being in your company. Thank you to the team that's put it all together. Nompumelelo Tango, the producer of the show. We had Katu earlier on. And on technical, we have Mondli now. And then we also have Mashaba on social media.
Amazing.
Thank you, Tebogo.
Thank you, ma'am. It's now 2 minutes before 4 p.m. Central African time. We're going to love and leave you. Listen to beautiful music. And then at the top of the hour, we've got your news. Goodbye, Africa.
Cheers.
Fama alade ya boya nete ta au fer bari au ka kome bana uka vive chiena uka maya bedo na galamala haine na ute eklenye ube feka ne yere magosa ala mane magosa ne magote nashi karababa ko de benekele
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Top stories. South Africa's opposition leader questions the actions of NGOs surrounding refugee debacle, and Pope Leo has held talks with the US Vice President and the Secretary of State. Good afternoon, I'm Jolani Tulongwebe. The Economic Freedom Fighters leader in South Africa, Julius Malema, has questioned why members of NGO AfriForum, that include Kali Kriel, Ernst Roets and Gerry Nel, have not left for the US. This as AfriForum, an Afrikaner interest group, has been allegedly peddling lies to the US that white farmers in South Africa are victims of a genocide and land grabs. The misinformation by AfriForum has resulted in the US President Donald Trump offering white Afrikaner farmers refugee status in the US. Malema says most white Afrikaners in South Africa will not leave the country because they are comfortable.
Why is Kriel not going to America? Because he's the one who said people are being killed. Kriel must lead by example and go to America. Roots must lead by example and go to America. Gerinel must lead by example and go to America. They can't go because they live a good life here in South Africa. When they go to America, they are going to become hobos with immediate effect.
Meanwhile, President Cyril Ramaphosa is on a state visit to meet his counterpart Donald Trump. Top on the agenda is the strained relations between the two countries. South Africans have mixed reactions to the visit. Here are the views of some citizens.
Can we be allowed to have South African solutions for South African problems?
President Ramaphosa and President Trump should focus on just trying to have benefits on both countries.
I don't think this meeting is going to yield any positive result.
So Ramaphosa should do as Trump is, firstly make peace. The South African government has attacked Israel in the ICJ. I think it's a huge mistake.
Personally, I do believe that Trump is just playing politics.
It's very important that all relations are intact for the good of our economy.
As a president of a country of over 60 million people, you need to know that you've got so many people backing up, so you shouldn't be bullied by a president from another country.
The cases against Tanzanian opposition leader Tundu Lissu have been postponed until the 2nd of June. The cases are in connection with alleged publication of false information online and other related to treason. There was heavy police presence at the court with some security personnel wearing balaclavas. Spokesperson of Chadema, Brenda Ruifa, says the details surrounding the case remain sketchy.
The government actually said they have 15 witnesses against that are going to go against Tundu Lissu, and they're going to. They said they will bring them to court on the 2nd of June. They refused to disclose the 15 people names. So we also had Chadema also had eight witnesses, of which the people will be disclosed on the 2nd of June as well.
At least 20,000 people have fled Martyr Town following increasing attacks by Islamist militants in Nigeria's northeastern Borno state. That's according to Governor Babagana Zulum, who visited Marte following a raid on an army base last week in which militants temporarily overran the installation. At least 5 soldiers were killed and others went missing in the attack. This is 4 years after residents returned to the town that was once controlled by insurgents. Borno state has witnessed an upsurge in attacks by suspected Boko Haram and Islamic State West Africa province assailants this year, raising concerns that the militants are making gains again after years of intense attacks by the military. And finally, Pope Leo has held talks with the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance and the Secretary of State Marco Rubio at the Vatican. The pair, who are both Catholics, headed up the U.S. delegation at Sunday's inaugural Mass for the new pontiff, which saw a host of dignitaries from across the world in attendance. Pope Leo had previously made veiled criticism of the Trump administration's plans for mass deportations of migrants during his time as a cardinal. Recapping the top story this hour, the Economic Freedom Fighters leader in South Africa, Julius Malema, has questioned why members of NGO AfriForum that include Carly Kriel, Ernst Roets and Gerry Nel have not left for the US. This as AfriForum, an Afrikaner interest group, has been allegedly peddling lies to the US that white farmers in South Africa are victims of a genocide and land grabs. For any news stories you would like to share with us, please do send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa News, I'm Jolani Tulo Mwebe.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
In our sports headlines, I'm Figile Lingwati. The Nigerian Women Football League has been offered an increased financial incentives for all participating clubs. I'll be back with the details at the bottom of the hour.
Good afternoon and welcome to African Business on Channel Africa, The African Perspective, where we meet to look at the latest in business news and sport. I am Tabiso Lohoko, standing in for Nompumelelo Ngubeni. We are broadcasting live from Auckland Park in Johannesburg, South Africa. We are on the DSTV OWK channel 802, on OpenView on channel 628, and you can live stream us on www.channelafrica.co.za, as well as on the SABC Plus app available on the Google and Apple Play stores.